Hey there, my lovelies. Welcome back. You're watching my channel, Boomy Reactions, and I am Boomy. Hello. So today, guys, we're going to be watching another language-based video. So this is very much a point of interest for me, looking at the similarities and the differences between American English and British English. So obviously, years ago, with the discovery of the New World, we all set out speaking the same version of English, amongst other languages. But, we all spoke the same English, but over the centuries, and it literally has been centuries, hasn't it? It's a long time for language to adapt, to change, to mutate into these two completely different versions of the same language. It's so interesting. So yes, today's video, we're going to be looking at the differences between the two. And yes, so let's check this out, guys. And if you are enjoying these reactions, my lovelies, hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you so much. If you're interested, I have a Buy Me a Coffee account. That link is over here. And should you wish to help support this channel any further, I do have a Patreon account. If you fancy checking that out, that link is in the description below.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Langfocus channel, and my name is Paul.
Hello,
Today
Paul.
we'll be answering the question, how are British English and American English different? One of the most commonly asked questions by learners of English. And hopefully native speakers of English will learn a thing or two from this video as well. The truth is that both British English and American English have numerous varieties, in other words, various accents and dialects. So for the main part of this video, I'll try to focus on the most standard, non-regional variety of each one. Disclaimer, I'm not American, I'm actually Canadian. But
I was just going to say, I can detect like a variation, an accent there. And I can't pinpoint what it is. I'm not so good at identifying the Canadian accent. There are definitely certain accents throughout the US that are more recognizable than others. But to a foreigner, to the untrained ear, it is difficult to distinguish between certain accents. And I do, unless it's very obvious, with the certain words like the boots or the A's, that it's a little bit trickier for me to identify.
But I'm confident that we will someday be Americans after the invasion.
What?
Standard Canadian English is very, very close to general American English, so I will say the American English samples myself, unless there's some specific need to distinguish between American and Canadian pronunciation. There are several ways in which British English and American English are different. Vocabulary, accent, spelling, and grammar. Yes. Vocabulary. Let me just throw a bunch of examples at you. Okay. In the US, people generally say garbage or trash, while in the UK, they generally say rubbish, both literally and figuratively.
The game was rubbish.
Yes, yeah.
Americans go on vacation, while Brits go on holiday. And that's also possible in American English. In the
You know what? We have started using the term vacation, but more in, I don't know, like a formal sense, I guess. So like, if you're in work and in your employment contract, it discusses holidays. I don't know. I've seen it be worded as vacationing before. So, I wouldn't go as far as saying it's catching on and we'll replace it with the term vacation. But I'd say there's so much influence from the US. More recently, like younger generations, maybe so. So, so I think we interchange, we use like an awful lot of American vocabulary these days.
US, people rent apartments, while in the UK, they rent flats. In the US, if your apartment is at street level, then you live on the first floor, and the person above you lives on the second floor.
Oh gosh, guys, this one confused me so much as a child or young adult, with, teenager. I could never understand why. Maybe again, it's because of watching all the American TV. But I just could not get my head around why in the UK, if you live on the ground floor, that's not called the first floor. Why? But the first floor is technically like the next one up. Yeah, I think I see more logic in the US, but I think that about an awful lot of vocabulary. Do you know what I mean? Like if there's a good logic behind it.
In the UK, you live on the ground floor, and the person above you lives on the first floor.
Yeah.
If that person above you is unable or just too lazy to take the stairs, in the US, they'd take the elevator. In the UK, they'd take the lift.
Oh my gosh, I'm stopping this an awful lot. There is an endless list of vocabulary differences and changes, isn't there? Now, one of my patrons actually pointed out that they can't understand, well, they can't understand, but you know, the difference between referring to this as an elevator as opposed to a lift is that it doesn't only go up. So, based on that logic, your elevator is also going down. Well, that's not been lifted. And it tickled me. I had never thought about that before. It's a very, very good point.
When you're bored at home, in the US, you might turn on the TV, while in the UK, you would turn on the telly.
We still say TV.
When you step outside of your building to go for a walk, in the US, you might walk on the sidewalk, while in the UK, you walk on the pavement.
My mum loves to share this story. Again, I must have just watched so much TV, American-based TV, as a young child. I don't know what age I would have been here, but she loves telling the story about how I'd be walking home from school with her, and I don't know what the topic of conversation was, but I referred to the pavement as the sidewalk, but it was in a very Americanized accent as well, because that's how I heard it said. You know, so it would be a sidewalk. Yes, and she still likes to remind me of that to this day. But there's an awful lot of these that, as a child, I grew up hearing through watching American-based TV. So naturally, you grow up imitating it. The worst, the absolute worst was, I can't remember what age I got to, like maybe kind of 8 years old, when I realised that my school bus wasn't going to be that cheerful, fabulous shade of yellow that I had seen on the Magic School Bus. It was just going to be a normal, bog standard British bus that had a Stagecoach logo on the side of it. I was very, very saddened by that. Little things like that, but you know, yeah, massively influenced through TV.
And if you're tired of walking, in the US, you might take the subway.
The underground.
In the UK, you take the underground. In the US, it's perfectly okay to wear pants when you're riding the subway. But in the UK, you'd better wear some trousers too, because pants means underpants.
They do, but I don't know. Again, this is another one that's kind of interchangeable. I think if you came over and you were to refer to pants, assuming they're trousers, I think a lot of people, maybe the younger generations again, would straight away click, but they're not talking about underpants, are they? We also call women's underpants knickers. I never thought that was a funny word until realising that not everywhere else refers to women's underpants as knickers.
And specifically, women's underpants are sometimes referred to as knickers
What
in
a
the
kick
UK.
in the knickers.
So when someone overreacts to something, in the US, you might say, don't get your panties in a bunch.
Don't get your knickers in a twist.
But in the UK, you would say,
Don't get your knickers in a twist.
Paul,
Don't get
how
your
dare
knickers
you
in a
be so
twist.
crude. Now I can't show this video to my 6-year-old students.
Why
oh,
not?
don't even worry about that. They'll just watch it on their phones during recess. Going back to the word pants for a moment, it can also be used in British English as an adjective.
That's pants. Yep, that's rubbish. Crappy. Yes, yeah. It sucks. That's pants. I wonder if that's more regional. Is there like a more of a southern-northern divide there? I'm not sure, actually.
Meaning something is crappy or it sucks. For example,
That album is pants.
in American English, you might say, that album
I think that's
sucks.
a little bit more outdated, like a bit
Accent.
older.
So for the US, I'll try to focus on general American English, and for the UK, I'll try to focus on received pronunciation.
Not the Queen's
These are the
English.
accents you're likely to hear on
Or
CNN
Northern.
and the BBC, respectively.
Oh, okay, yeah, because there's an awful lot of accents in the UK. I don't think I've got that one. Obviously, I've got some accent of some description, although I couldn't really, I think a lot of people can't put their finger on it. If I go to one area of the UK, they think immediately, they hear something in my accent and they're like, you live near Liverpool, don't you? Oh, well, I'm not that far away, I suppose, but I didn't think there was an awful lot of scouse about my accent, but sure. And then if I go to Liverpool, they think I sound like a southerner. Could describe. It's somewhere in the middle, you know.
R sounds. American English is rhotic, meaning that R sounds are always clearly pronounced.
Yes.
British English is non-rhotic, meaning that the R sound is not pronounced unless it's followed by a vowel sound. Listen to the difference. My father's in the car.
My father's in the car.
Let's focus on two words. Father,
Father.
car.
Car.
Notice that the final R sound is not pronounced in British English. Father ends in a simple schwa vowel, like father. And in car, the vowel sound is lengthened in place of the R sound.
So we don't, when we end words with the R, it's not as heavy, it's not as pronounced. Like when we say car, it kind of like, that R sound kind of like slowly fades away into nothing. But if I was going to say it in an American accent, that it'd be not harsher, but it'd be more distinctively there. Car. Like, oh, like that R. R. Sound like a bit like a pirate now. R.
Car.
Now, the thing about British non-rhotic accents that I find pretty wild is something called the intrusive R. That means that people sometimes add an R sound to a word that doesn't actually
do it all the
have one
time.
if it's followed by a vowel in
Like
the next
father.
word. For example, in the sentence, I saw a film. In British English, it sometimes sounds like this.
I saw a film.
So you can hear that there's an R sound connecting saw and
I think I'd do that if I was to say, I saw a film. Yeah, okay, whatever. Whatever my accent is, whatever you want to label it, it does this. Yeah, so it creates another sound by kind of flowing one word very quickly into the vowel sound, doesn't it? I saw a film. Or I saw a film. I think maybe that's to do with the way that we pronounce the word saw. You know, I saw a film. Because if I had to break that up, it would separate those words quite heavily. I saw a film, or, you know, I saw a film. It's quite easy to trail that quite quickly. It's quite, do you know what I mean? Am I making sense? But if I was to say it quite quickly, I saw a film. Those words kind of merge, don't they? I don't think I'm making sense anymore.
I once had a British on-the-job trainer, and I remember she said, "Hello, my name is Paula, and I'll be your trainer today."
Hello, my name is Paula, and I'll be your... Okay, yeah. I see.
I remember thinking, Paula? What? You can't say your own name? But it wasn't just her, that was the intrusive R.
Yeah, okay.
T sounds.
Yeah,
in British English, and again, I must emphasize that I'm talking about the accent referred to as received pronunciation, T sounds are pronounced as hard Ts. In other words, voiceless T sounds.
Yours sounds like
in the
a bit
US,
more
they
D.
sometimes sound like a D. An alveolar tap instead of T, an alveolar stop.
So we say water. Yeah, I don't know. I do think there's a difference in the vowel sound as well. But yeah, water or water. Bottle of water. But yeah, I suppose they sound they're harsher, the harder T's, aren't they? Where yours sound more kind of rounded into almost like a D sound, you know, like water.
This normally occurs in an unstressed syllable between two vowel sounds, or between a vowel and a rhotic sound, like an R sound. So in the US, people say butter. In the UK, they say
butter.
In the US, stop fighting. In the UK,
stop
fighting.
You may have also noticed that the O sound in the word stop was a little different, which brings me to O sounds.
Yeah, yours kind of, they're a little bit more elongated, and obviously this is going to differ from region to region and accent to accent, but the generalized American accent that he's referring to here. So those vowel sounds are quite slightly elongated, aren't they? Like that stop, Whereas with us, it's very shortened, stop, or stop. I'm saying these sounds so much now, over and over again, they're starting to lose meaning.
In the word stop, the American O sound is an unrounded vowel, ah, while the British O sound is rounded, aw. Another example, hot.
Hot.
There's also the O diphthong in the word no. In the UK,
no.
In the UK, the sound is a schwa followed by an as in put. Show. A sounds. In other words, sounds represented by the letter A. Ah in UK English normally becomes an A sound in American English. For example, in the UK,
half,
and in the US, half. Words with A in British English remain pretty similar in American English. In the UK,
cat,
and in the US, cat.
I still say it sounds slightly more elongated with the US accent in there, the general US accent in there. Ours sounds flattened and a bit shortened, doesn't it, really? I know I say it a lot. I think we insert R's in a lot of places where there aren't any, like half. We should say half, really, shouldn't we? But no, we just throw an R in half. It's like Nevada. A lot of us would say. Why?
Exception is a small set of words in which the A is followed by a double R, in which case the vowel is pronounced as eh in the US. In the UK,
marry,
in the US, marry. Because of the difference, in the US, Mary and
Sounds like
Mary
marry.
sound the same. Carry and Carrie sound the same.
That's it. If you were to marry. But then it sounds like Mary, like the name Mary, doesn't it? Am I just doing a really terrible accent? Yeah, we'd say marry. It's a very short, condensed, kind of like harsh ah. Marry. Merry, marry, Mary. I can imagine in some accents, these all sound very, very similar, don't they? To marry, Mary, and be Mary. It tickles me. I love it. I love etymology. I love the origin of accents and where they come from, why they are the way they are. I think it's so interesting.
Spelling. American and British spellings are largely the same, but there are a few notable differences. This is in large part because Noah Webster, whom the Webster Dictionary is named after, made an effort to reform English spelling in the 1700s in order to make the words spelled the way they sounded. This resulted in some spelling changes in American English. Most, but not all, words that end in RE in the UK end in ER in the US.
I just want to say that a lot of these changes, in my opinion, they create an English language that is easier for young children to learn. I imagine it's easier for other people to learn the English language as well. Like, you know, if English is not your first spoken language. But for children, getting your head around a lot of the bizarre rules and changes in the spelling of British English words. I know because I had two children and I remember trying to learn the spelling. I've never been very good at spelling. And I think it's because there's quite a few rules that don't make sense. There's a lot of exceptions and you've got to learn when the exceptions are, blah, 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 blah. And I think your use of American English is easier for children to understand because there's less unnecessary rules. Do you know what I mean? Am I making sense?
For example, center, theatre,
Right.
meter, somber.
But we can spell it either way
Some
and it
words
makes
that
sense.
end in NCE in the
So
UK
why?
are spelled with NSE in the US. License,
And Z.
defense, offense.
Like the word, like magazine. Do we still spell it magazine? There's a few words like that where you've got the use of the Z and we still stick to using the S. But it's confusing again for children because you type up your homework, your essays, blah, 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 on Word documents, for example, and the spell check is generally, I think the default is actually like American English. So you very quickly, and reading articles and sources of information, you start to learn that, I don't know, like you start adopting two different ways of spelling the same word. It's quite the learning curve for youngsters.
Some words with OU in the UK are
Yes,
spelled with
yeah,
O
like
in
colour.
the US. Color,
Yes.
favor, honor, labor, etc. The ending ISE became IZE in the US. Organize,
Organize.
apologize. A similar change also occurs in other contexts where the S is voiced. In other words, it makes a Z sound. Analyze, cozy. There are verbs ending with L that take a doubled L in British English when a suffix is added. In American English,
Traveller.
there's no
That
double
one.
L. Traveled, cancelled, marvelous. If you're wondering how the last one fits in with the
Traveller,
others,
travelled.
remember that marvel is a verb, and then an adjectival suffix is added to it. Grammar. There are only very minor grammatical differences between British English and American English. Auxiliary verbs. British people use shall for the future much more than Americans, as well as to ask for advice or an opinion. Some difference in preposition use. In the US, people say on the weekend, but in the UK, they say at the weekend.
Do I? Which one do we use in this household? Well, let me think. No, I don't know whether, again, because maybe it's younger generations adopting more Americanisms. I don't know. I would not say at the weekend. I would say on the weekend. When is this event going to take place? On the weekend. I wouldn't say at the weekend. Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know whether I'm just some weird anomaly though.
And in the US, people say different from or different than, but in the UK, they say different from or different to. There are some different past tense forms. For example, in American English, the past tense of the word learn is learned, while in
Say
British
learned.
English, it's more common to say learnt.
Yes, yeah,
Actually,
okay,
both forms are used in either country, but there is more of a tendency towards one form. This is true for other words like dreamed versus dreamt, burned versus burnt, leaned versus leant, etc.
Now, again, I'm going to keep throwing this back to youngsters learning the English language, because I would say, as a child in elementary or primary school over here, if you were to use the term dreamed in the wrong tense, when we would normally use the word dreamt, you'd be pulled upon it very, very quickly and told that grammatically, no, you don't say that. You would say dreamt or burnt. But yeah, I don't know, because it's not wrong, is it? It's just because we have two distinct versions of the same language. And like I say, a lot of youngsters now, the internet, we live in a much smaller world because we're better connected with all of the internet, and they're so much more exposed to online presences and things. They're going to learn quite quickly, because the majority of the information they're going to read or in social media, there's a lot of things that they're going to see. A lot of them for us are going to be American or American based. So it's hard, because it's very conflicting, I think, for them.
Another example,
It was
in
for
the
me.
US, the past tense of dive is usually dove. In the
Really?
UK, it's dived.
It is? Yes, it is. Okay. Yes, yeah, we would say dive. We'd never say dove. I'm pretty sure this one has actually been flagged up with my little boy relatively recently. And he just could not understand, well, why is this not the past tense of dive? I dove in. It's like, no, you say I dived in. They mean the same thing, but it's those rules, really conflicting rules, isn't it? Again.
Maybe the American form developed by analogy with drive and drove. Anyways, differences like these are not consistent, but you'll
No,
notice
they're
some
not.
different past tense forms here and there. Past participles. Sometimes past participles have a different form. The most well-known example is for the verb get. In the US, there's get, got, gotten.
gotten.
But in the UK, it's get, got, got.
Yeah.
Both forms, got and gotten, have existed since the Middle English period, but gotten has fallen out of use in the UK. Got can be used in American English in the form have got, but
Yeah.
with the meaning of have, not have received or have become. I haven't gotten the eviction notice yet.
I haven't got the eviction notice.
Yes, I would say I haven't got the eviction notice yet. I don't think we would generally use the term gotten, but I think this is an example of a funny word which we haven't used for a long time, but that doesn't mean that the American use of it is wrong. It just means that we stopped using it. Well, actually, your use of it is more closer to the original English language than ours. which is hilarious.
yet.
All right, let's check a couple more sentences and see what we encounter.
Okay.
In the US, I think we need a lawyer. In the UK,
I reckon we need a solicitor.
Now, this is an interesting one. So one of my patrons mentioned this a while ago, my use of I reckon or do you reckon. So in the UK, we still use that. I don't know if it's an old thing. It's not a class thing. I remember my patron said he thinks if you were to use it in American English, it's more of a kind of class divide, social use of without offending anyone. Whereas in the UK, it's not. It's a very varied use of that word. And isn't that funny? Isn't that really, really, really weird? So yeah, anyone, and it's not a north-south divide either. A lot of people would say, I reckon, and just use it in day-to-day language. It's not so much used as frequently in all across, all accents and regions of the US. Yes, but it does mean exactly the same thing to think, or, do you think, do you reckon? It gets turned into the, do you reckon? I think I say it a lot, actually.
you'll notice that a couple of words here are different. British people
yeah.
often use the word reckon, which means think or suppose.
Yeah.
Americans know this word, but rarely use it. And while Americans would typically refer to a professional legal consultant as a lawyer, in the UK they often say solicitor, which is a type of lawyer that does consultation. The type of lawyer who represents you in court in the UK is usually a barrister, while in the US they're usually referred to as attorneys.
Just to overcomplicate more differences, eh? Yeah, so the only time I can really recall hearing reckon being used in an American accent, watching American TV, whatever, it's normally been within a southern accent, and it's normally used to kind of convey those wonderful, really strong southern accents, like I reckon. So yeah, I was just going to say, what do you reckon, guys? What do you perceive, for our American audience, what do you perceive the difference to be? Is it kind of a class distinction type thing? In the UK, everyone uses it. I reckon.
Another sentence. In the US, I'm going for a beer with my friends.
In the UK, with my
I'm
mates.
going for a pint with my mates.
Notice that British people often say pint, where Americans would say beer. Brits also say beer as a countable noun like this, but pint is frequently used.
Yes.
And notice that Brits often say mate, where Americans would say friend. The differences between British English and American English might seem surprising or amusing, but remember, in this video I'm zooming in on the differences and focusing on them. For the most part, they're actually the same. There are some minor differences in vocabulary, in pronunciation, in grammar, and in spelling, but any native speaker with a little bit of exposure to the other will quickly adapt to these differences and be able to understand the other variety without any problem. The differences are sometimes greater if we focus on regional dialects and sociolects of British English and American English. While most Americans probably have no trouble understanding received pronunciation, they may have some trouble understanding Cockney English or the Geordie accent of northeastern England.
Just to highlight, guys, that some of the rest of the UK can struggle with it as well. If you've got a very neutral accent, like I'm told I've got quite a neutral accent, it doesn't really lean too much into one region or another. It's a bit of a mix. But if I haven't been exposed to a strong accent in the UK, very much, I can struggle a little bit. Like, I love the Scottish accent, for example, but there is a region I can't distinguish whether it's like a Glaswegian accent or an Edinburgh accent. I can't remember which one it is, but one of them, when it's very strong and more often spoken by a male, not to be sexist, but just as an observation, I can struggle when they speak very, very quickly as well. I can, if you're talking to someone from a call center, for example, or like a hotline, a helpline, I can be a little bit like, sorry, what did you say? And the same, but Geordie is a lovely melodic accent, in my opinion, as well. Newcastle, not Norwegian, Norwegian, Geordie accent. And that at times when it's spoken very quickly and it's a very strong accent, it can at times be a little bit challenging to understand. But then again, soaking Cockney slang, oh my gosh, I know. I've just recently watched one of the scenes from Family Guy, and they've had a character speaking in Cockney slang. I understood what they said for the main part, but I can definitely see why people would be lost at the word go from what they were saying. I think it's because of slang, and a lot of that's vocabulary, not so much accent, but you know.
Or other varieties. But as far as standard non-regional speech goes, I'd say that the differences are minimal. However, learners of English who focus on one of the two varieties will likely have a little bit of trouble understanding the other until they gain significant exposure to it. The question of the day: what other differences between American and British English are you aware of? In this video, I was only able to give a limited number of examples, so add yours in the comments. Be sure to follow Langfocus on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And once again, thank you to all of my wonderful Patreon supporters. And these ones right here on the screen are my top tier Patreon supporters. So many extra special thanks to them.
Bless you.
And to everyone out there, thank you for watching and have a nice day.
Have a nice day, Paul. That's a new face for me. I've not seen any from this channel before. Very, very informative, very detailed as well. I love that. I love when you've got a question and you're kind of presented with very, not scientific, but very, very detailed answers. That's how I learn. Let's see some other differences. Like I said, I think some accents, I don't know if this is like, no, it can't just be specific to the UK. You've probably got accents across the US as well, where, I don't know, is there a habit for people to speak very, very quickly? That's probably any accent just spoken anywhere. Some people talk quicker than others. Or like pronunciation in that certain words, or how do I explain this properly? Like the way their mouth moves when they say certain sounds, and it kind of drops off towards the end of words. Not the jaw doesn't drop off. Oh, being so silly. But yeah, I suppose that goes under pronunciation, doesn't it? Anyway, guys, thank you. If you're still here with me at this point, I've been getting a bit batty towards the end of that. I hope you enjoyed watching that along with me, guys. So very, very interesting. I love accents. I'm terrible at them. I wish I could be better, but I love accents. I think they sound lovely. So guys, take care of yourselves for now. Much love, my lovelies. And I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.